The life of a lady. A beautiful lady resided near the banks of a river. She lived alone in a hut. She would cook by herself, clean the hut, and do all the household chores. She lived far from the city. She had been living alone for many years. One day she was sitting beside her hut braiding her long beautiful hair. She suddenly said out loud, "God, I wished for a companion to live my life with." She then again continued doing her work. God heard her wish. She was desperate to talk to someone and be with a friend and didn't want to live alone. So God granted her wish. That very evening a young man came by the hut searching for a place to live. The lady was shocked. It had been years since she saw someone other than herself. She asked him to come inside her hut and took pleasure in being his host. He was delighted. When the young man asked if there was any other hut nearby where he could stay, the lady shook her head and informed him that for many miles there were no huts. The man was disappointed. He felt like he walked miles for nothing. So the lady offered him her hut to stay along with her, and then the lady got a companion, and she stayed happy. After a few days, since the hut was too small for two people to stay inside together, she started being grumpy about it. She then wished out loud to God to have a huge house to stay in. God heard her and he built a house for her instead of the small hut. The young man and the lady were very happy, and they lived inside the house cozily. After a few days, the lady got tired of doing her household chores by herself, while the man would do the outside house chores. She felt that when she had a small house, she could clean it all by herself, but this house was too huge. So she then asked God to give her a few maids to help her out. The Almighty God gave her 5 maids. Thereafter the young man and the lady would sit all day long and do nothing. There were no chores to do, no water pots to fill from long distances. Even the lady's hair was braided by her maidens. Days passed by and then months. One fine autumn month was going on, and she was tired of lurking around her big house with her companion having to do nothing. So she asked God for one last time to give her old life back to her. And then everything disappeared, her companion, the house, and the maids too. It was all back like before. The lady clapped with joy. She was never happier before. Moral: be satisfied with what you have. The Magic Well. Once upon a time, there was a girl who was very poor. She had nothing to eat. She was all alone in the house and was hungry for 3 days. She decided to go to a jungle and found a piece of bread. She became happy that finally she had something. She was searching for a place to sit so that she could eat the bread. She saw a well. She thought it was the best place to sit and eat as she could drink water too. She was about to eat the bread when she heard someone's noise. She started to look for the person who was crying. She saw an old woman crying under the tree. She asked what happened. The old lady said she was hungry. The girl said, "You can take my bread." The old lady asked her if she did not need the bread. The girl said, "No, you need it more. You are old and weak. I can find something else to eat." The old lady became happy and ate the bread and left the place. The girl came near the well, put the pot in the well, and pulled it out. But what she saw then was astonishing. The pot was full of food of different varieties. She was surprised to see this and thought, how would that be possible? She put the pot again in the well and pulled it out. Again the pot was full of different kinds of drinks. She was very happy to see this. She again wished for good clothes. She put the pot in the well and pulled it out. Very beautiful dresses came out. She became so happy but was a little frightened. She asked, "Who is in the well?" The well spoke, "I am the well. I have given this food because of your good deed." The girls asked, "What was the good deed?" The well said, "You helped the poor lady." The girl thanked the well and ate the food. The well said, "You can come here any time and can take whatever you wish. I will give it to you." The girl said, "I have no one with me. I have no house to live in. Will you please help me?" The well's magic turned on and a beautiful house was built near the well. The girl became happy and lived in the house near the well. She helped everyone who came to the jungle and needed help. Moral of the story: help others, God will give you more.
The food rain. There once was a boy who wanted to become a scientist since a kid. He was so interested in science that he started doing experiments with whatever was available to him from 18 itself. He was very enthusiastic about creating new things out of the knowledge he had in science. He believed he could make candies and chocolate rain from the clouds in his city and prove to everyone that he wasn't just any other scientist, but a very different and fun one. When he had told this in his city, everyone laughed at him, thinking he's mad to believe that he could do wonders like this. As he was an enthusiastic guy, this made him optimistic toward starting his process from day one itself. While all other kids his age were preparing on how to live their lives, this 18-year-old was busy making a huge machine. He gathered all of the metal equipment for his dad's garage and had his things to add to. The man made a machine out of which a food production satellite would be sent to space and would start producing food from the cloud to their city only. His city thought he was a fool, but within 2 days of the satellite in space, it was the third day when candies, donuts, French fries, and all sorts of food started to fall from the clouds. This changed the entire look of the city. Everyone enjoying their meals, the kids in the garden playing in the chocolate pond, the people around having street food, the elderly having their green veggies. The city never had to make anything for themselves ever again, and it was all because of the youngest enthusiastic boy they had. The boy was happy that he had finally shown his worth as a scientist, being still so young. After a few days, the roads and building tops were filled with only food. People couldn't walk around, travel, or play anymore. Everyone started to bully the young scientist again, saying that it was all his fault since the beginning. The scientist had not built any stop button to the satellite, so he was very scared about what must have been done now. The last time he took people's opinion on him as a motivation, but this time he was in a puddle of water, crying all day long and not knowing what to do. He asked his father why he was so sad and crying. His father told him that he was only focusing on him and doing his own work. He never got bothered with anything, but this time he was focusing on what people said, so he couldn't do his work properly. So the boy sat down, gave it a long thought process, and found out a way. He thought of dismantling the satellite with the settings of a machine from Earth. He knew this would require a lot of patience and time, but he went through it, and finally the satellite got destroyed and dismantled in the space itself. The city, which had food rain, now had its normal water rain from the clouds, and everyone started praising the boy again.
The Santas and Bantis. It was an auspicious day. Everyone got cleaned up and ready for the day. They cleaned the house of the gods and the goddesses. Everyone was in a jolly mood. They decorated their houses and made sweets for the occasion, for the gods to come and enter their pavilions. Each family made an offering to their gods. The Santas and the Bantis were the two families who lived across from each other. Each of them had a family of 4. There was always a silent competition going in between the two families. Just when the events were taking place, someone rang the Bantis doorbell. Banta answered it, to find a beggar standing on their porch. He wore ragged and dusty clothes and stank. Banta requested the beggar to go away, but the beggar seemed very persistent. He wanted something to eat. He said that he hadn't had anything to eat for days and he felt weak. This enraged Banta and he started shouting. This caused a commotion and drew attention. everyone came out of their houses and people started gathering. Even the Santas came out and the localites too. A Brahmin passing by also stood there looking at what was taking place. Banta kept shouting at the poor beggar to go away, while Santa came to stop them, considering it as a responsibility of a neighbor. The beggar then started to ask Santa for some food. Santa quietly told everyone to leave and made the beggar go away. Santa had asked the beggar to go away. He didn't truly mean it. He didn't give anything because he didn't want to make himself low in front of Banta. So later that evening Santa decided to find that beggar. Santa made sure none of the Bantas saw him and went for the beggar. Luckily he found him a short distance away from his home. He looked pale and sick. Santa's heart went out for him. He gave the beggar food and wished for him to get better. This was all noticed by the Brahmin, who had followed Santa all the way and had even encountered chaos before. Turned out that the Brahmin was God himself in an unrecognizable form, and so God blessed Santa with more wealth and happiness. Moral: love and kindness are never wasted. The New King. Once there was a village. It was a very beautiful city. It was a well-developed village. The people of the city were very happy living. They have everything of their needs. Above all of this, they had some bad habits. They lie for no purpose. They were dishonest and always tried to deceive everyone. Even when someone new to the city came there, they looted all of his belonging and misguided him. They were very happy to do this. One day a person came there. He saw the people of the city were deceiving everyone. It seemed it was their hobby to do so. He preached them to the right path. But they laughed at him, then got angered and said, "Get off the city, or we will kill you and no one able to save you from us." The man, after doing many tries, left the city and started worship to God. The new king came to the city to rule on them. He was a very cruel king. He loved money more than anything. He started torture on the people of the city. He snatched money from them. He implements new taxes on them. Whoever failed to give the taxes, he snatched his house or land. He wants to become richer. The people started hating him. They want to get rid of him. The new king killed their sons. Whoever even tries to raise the voice. He became all of the slaves. The city started to become destroyed. The people who left in the city became miserable. They started the search for the good man who gave them advice. They were very ashamed of themselves. At last, they found them in a hut where he was busy in worship. They met him and told him the whole story of what was going on them. The good man listened to the complete story and said to them to ask forgiveness from God so that he forgives them. God can give them freedom and get rid of the cruel king. The king will be as like as the people who they rule. They all asked for forgiveness and promised that they would live like good human beings. They will be left lie and deceiving people. They will help each other. The good man prayed to God for them. He asked them to get ready to do the battle so that they can get their city back. They all started training under the good man and make an army to fight with the cruel king. The day of battle came. They fought very well under the command of the good man. They got to win the war and able to get back to the city. Now they changed as a nation. They started to help each other and always tell the truth. The city becomes beautiful again. They developed it more beautifully than before. Moral: how you will behave, the more the ruler will be like that. Man in the Whale. Once upon a time, there was a prince. He was a handsome guy with a lot of power and intelligence. He was proud of himself because of his power and beauty. He was famous among everyone. His pride takes him towards arrogance. He started thinking that he is superior to all. One day he plans with his friends to go for a picnic. They chose Ireland for this purpose. The day came and then they started their journey. They were enjoying and having fun in the boat. Suddenly the ship started shivering. It seemed that it will be drowned. Everyone became upset. The captain of the ship said, "The ship is heavy. We have to get the load out from the ship." They threw the load out of the ship, but the ship was not in control. They decided that someone from the ship have to jump down in the sea so that others could save their lives. So they decided to do a draw to see whom they are going through in the sea. By God's wish, when they drew, the name of the prince came. So they threw him in the sea. The prince became very angry and was not ready to jump. But his friends threw him because they want to save themselves. The prince became frightened. He said sorry to God. One whale came there and swallowed the prince. The prince remained to save and went into the whale's belly. Their prince got frightened. He started recalling his memories of how arrogant he was and how he was proud of his power and beauty. Now he was stuck in a whale's stomach. He prayed to God for his sins and behaviors. He promised he would never do this again. He was ashamed of his acts. He stayed there 10 days. All these days, he prayed daily and asked forgiveness from God. One day the whale threw him out. He saw this was a beach. He became very happy to get a new life. He decided he will always help the poor and use his power for the sake of people. He started to find the way to his empire. Another side, when the friends returned from the journey, everyone asked about the prince. They had no way but to tell the truth. They told the whole story to the king. The king got angered and sent his soldiers to find the prince. The soldiers went to the sea in the search of the prince, but came out after several days of searching. Everyone in the empire was upset. They prayed for the prince. They lost hope and considered him dead. One day the prince found the way to his house. The king was very happy to see the prince. He gave a party to all his empire to celebrate the return of the prince. The prince became a good person. He started respect of everyone. He cared for his parents and people. Everyone surprised to see the change and become happy. Moral: always respect everyone else's life, will give you the lesson.
Story of Abhi. There lived a boy, Abhi, who was very interested in art and was very good at it. But his parents never encouraged it because they told him that he needed an educational and professional career to be rich. He was told by his parents that richness is the only key to happiness. Abhi never listened to what his parents told him, instead focused on his thoughts. His parents wanted him to become a doctor and earn loads of money, but Abhi told his parents that even if he become a doctor and earn a lot of money, he wouldn't be happy as he wouldn't be doing what he loves, which won't bring happiness. His parents understood him, and when he explained them, and they chose to let him pursue his art courses. His parents knew he wouldn't be rich, but they understood that he would be happy by doing something he loves. Moral: let your child follow what they love. The best memory made. 3 friends decided to go on a road trip to the Bisco Valley. They were planning for this for a very long time, so when the going time was close, this brought more excitement in them. The 3 friends were Josh, Sam, and Awisi. These school buddies thought about going to Bisco Valley on their motorcycles. The ideal dream of boys to have a road trip to the destination with their best friends. Josh was the smart one. He thought he was responsible for every little small thing in the house. He made sure everything is placed, planned, and prepared. Sam was more opposite to him. He was a clumsy guy with loads of things always around him. His room was always cleaned by Josh. Josh had to pick up his stinky socks and put them for the laundry, pick up those leftover snacks lying all around his bed. In other words, you could say that Josh was the mom of the group. Coming to the last member of the boys' group is Abhi. Abhi was the guy who didn't like much interaction with outside people, but was a crazy head when he was with his boys. He rarely joked or laughed, was known for his serious attitude. The three boys set out for their Biscoe Valley trip on Monday morning on their motorbikes. Sam planned that they would reach the valley, then go hiking, then have a little photo shoot with nature, and by the next day morning, return home. Josh had asked Sam to make sure that the air in the tires are full, and Sam had forgotten about it all. Half the way there, their tires were out of gas, and the gas station were 10 miles away from the area. So they asked up for lifts, and after 30 minutes of waiting, they got a guy who could fill up their tires. When they finally had reached their destination, that view had got their eyes so bad that they gazed at the sky for so long that they didn't realize the time. Josh was irritated too because nothing went according to the plan, but was lost with the beauty of the view from such a height. The next morning, Josh woke Sam and Abhi and they returned back home. When they came back, Josh was mad at them for not doing everything according to the plan, but then advised, and Sam calmly explained to them that always life doesn't go as planned, because how much perfect planning you do, you can't make everything in your favor. So we must enjoy whatever time we get, because we must make memories with what time we have and cherish them. Moral: not everything in life goes according to you, and when it doesn't, don't be upset. Instead, make that into a cherishable memory.
The Black Crow. One day a crow was feeling very low. She felt that she was one of the ugliest creatures that God had created in this world, and nobody wanted her. So she sat down in between a group of birds on the banks of a river, crying her heart out, looking at her reflection in the water. A swan swimming by asked the crow what was wrong. The crow replied that she felt very bad about how she looked. She said that a swan looks pretty, with elongated, curved necks and white feathers. It stood out. The swan smiled at the crow. Swan said, I know I am white and I represent peace, but I die faster because of no food. I get my food from rivers and ponds, but clean ones, and nowadays not much of them are there, but you have many other options. The crow agreed to that. A parrot came to sit right next to the crow. The crow felt sad again. The parrot asked her what was the matter. The crow said that she felt like an unwanted bird in this world. The parrot said that although parrots have great grasping power, and they can learn the language, they are kept as pets of humans, and under leash all the time. They get good food, but they can't roam around the world as a crow can. The crow was satisfied with the answer, then saw a peacock and gasped in awe. She grew grim again. She told the peacock that you were so beautiful, you had every color that existed in this world imprinted on you, and you danced beautifully. The peacock said, yes, we are all that, but from your point of view. The crow didn't understand what the peacock was trying to say. The peacock clarified, we are always locked up in cages and zoos for people to show we aren't treated well. We are made to dance on people's wishes and flap our wings for them. The crow then felt sad for the peacock. By the end of the day, Crow felt happy for being herself, and instead, he felt sorry for all her other bird friends. Moral: everyone is unique and beautiful in their very own way. The Competent Worm. It was early in the morning, the birds were chirping their hearts out. And the cold breeze blew the long branches of the trees, as if sea waves under the moonlight. While everything passed like any other morning, the pitch-black Raven was in search of food. Raven expected to find a good meal that could make up for the rest of his day. So he continued to fly from one branch of the tree to another, using his sharp eyes to locate his prey. The Raven stopped right after he saw a big fat white worm crawl in and out of peach fruit. He was delighted about it. The Raven flew down to sit right next to the worm. He picked the worm up with his beak, and the poor worm started to whirl to freedom. She said that she was not his meal, but the Raven wouldn't listen. He was determined to munch on her. Then the worm went ahead and said, "Please hear me out. I am not delicious, I look white on the outside, but once you bite into me I will burst into disgusting taste." The Raven started to reconsider his meal. The worm continued, "I am very small, and I won't fill your tummy either." The Raven nodded to that statement. "I have a better deal for you. How about you let me go now, and I get my other fatter delicious friends for you and come back?" The Raven thought hard. However, he decided to let the worm go, but they were to meet at the same place that evening with the rest of the white worm's friends. The worm happily wriggles away. That evening the Raven comes back searching for a group of worms as promised, but to his dismay, he finds nothing there. The worm had cleverly managed to escape and save her life. Moral: being clever protects us from difficult situations. The Cute Girl. Once upon a time there lived a very small, cute girl with her mother, father, and grandmother. She was incredibly beautiful. She would spend all day with her granny and chit-chat. One day her parents get into an accident and die in a car crash. The girl cries a lot. She now only had her grandmother to live with. With no earning member, she moved in with her granny in a small house. She was very pampered before, and this developed her attitude of stubbornness. She wouldn't eat if her food wasn't what she liked, and argue with her granny for hours if her food wasn't replaced. She would go shopping and spend lavishly knowing that they did not have enough, and yet her granny, however, loved her. She one day got sick and was bedridden. She asked her granddaughter to get her some medicine and gave her some money. On the way to a pharma shop, the girl comes across a candy shop. The candies looked so beautiful and yummy, the girl could not stop herself from buying lots of them. She was walking in a very jolly mood next and proceeded to the medicine shop. But when she had to pay for the medicines, she didn't have any money. She had spent all the money she got from her granny on the candies she was tempted to buy. So she walked back home with her candies. Then she was too small to realize what was coming. When she met her granny at the bedside, she told her what had happened. Her granny only smiled, and she knew she wouldn't want to spend her last breath arguing with her only family. Her granny passed away, and she was all alone, an orphan now. An adoptive family took her in, but they didn't mean good. They wouldn't treat her like a child of their own. She had to do all her stuff on her own, and even more. Slowly she lost all her stubbornness. And she realized that her stubbornness gets someone nowhere. Moral: we should not be stubborn. The Deep Well. One day in the forest, a lion, a snake, and a monkey were walking around together. The lion was very proud of himself since he was the king of the forest. He took pride in everything he did, and he was very humble too. That's what earned him his respect. They walked around laughing and roaring about the sunsets, and the new creeper that had started growing near the river. The soil was muddy because it had drizzled just an hour ago, and it took in the prints of their paws and body shape. The mud mixed with rainwater left an odor that was addicting. All of a sudden a loud sound came, and a thrash. Down the well went all the three good friends together. The lion, snake, and the monkey all landed hard on their backs. They all got injured. They were stuck deep inside a well. There was no way to get out without help. It was a hunter's work. The evening passed by and the hunter peeped down at them. He was a mid-aged man, in khaki clothes, smirking down at his deeds. Another round of thud noise came and a scream of a man. This woke them up. The hunter too was now down with them. The lion roared with anger. he said that the hunter had done something wrong, and there would be a price to pay. The lion was very angry, but he kept his calm and muttered only a few words at him. The next morning another man was peeking at them. It was a monk who said that he was just passing in a hurry. The lion, monkey, and snake, even the hunter, requested the monk to pull them out. But the monk was in a hurry. He said he had enough time to pull only one person out of there, so the hunter volunteered. He asked the monk to pull him out first, so that the monk could leave and he could rescue the rest. Once the hunter was out and the monk left, he acted selfishly and continued with his plan. He caged them in his carriage. On the way through their forest, they heard another thud and they stopped. Another thrash and the carriage broke open. Everyone was safe. When they came out they saw that the tire of the carriage had got jumbled up with the new weeds and flipped the hunter over into the river. The hunter got paid for what he did to the lion, snake, and monkey. Lion believed in equality and giving chances to people. Although he had a chance of taking his revenge on the hunter, he decided to handle it with humbleness, but in the end, the hunter got into a huge mess by himself. Moral: if you do wrong to others, something unjustifiable happens to you as well. Banana Plantation. One day a monkey and a turtle were roaming around the forest together. Whilst the monkey jumped from one tree branch to the other, the turtle took the muddy route. The monkey kept shouting over to the turtle to catch up and walk faster, but the turtle was trying its best. So they went and saw that the banana tree had so many fruits. Both of them were so hungry. They were all ripe and yellow. So the monkey quickly climbed at the top and plucked the bananas one by one and started devouring them up. The turtle sadly couldn't climb, so he asked his friend monkey for a banana. The monkey looked down at him and said, "Take it by yourself, you have a pair of hands and legs yourself." The turtle replied that he couldn't climb. The monkey got convinced and passed on one banana to the turtle for every 2 bananas that he ate. Which wasn't fair, but after a couple of minutes they had finished eating all of the bananas. The monkey said that he felt sad because there were no more bananas to eat, because the one tree only gave fruit only once. The turtle felt sad for his friend. He came up with an idea. He said that he will take the whole of the banana tree with him, grow it more, and give it to the monkey. The monkey thought, why hadn't he got this idea before the turtle? "Let's cut the tree into 2 halves and grow separately," suggested the monkey. The turtle agreed. The monkey was so clever that when they cut it, he took the top part of the plant so that when the banana gave fruits, he would get to eat, but the turtle will be left with only the stems and roots. So the turtle and the monkey took each half and planted it. After a few months, monkey's plantations died because of no roots, and the turtles grew into a beautiful plant with a lot of bananas in it. Even after the monkey was so rude to the turtle, he shared his bananas with the monkey. Moral: don't be selfish, instead be friendly always. Angel in the Forest. Andrew was the only child of the house, and he was loved by both of his parents immensely. He was good-natured and humble. But he had adopted a bad habit of lying from his circle of friends. There was no doubt that they had a bad influence on him. His parents realized that Andrew had started lying when one day they found his report card. It said that Andrew had scored 66%, and they were very furious, not because he got fewer marks, but because he had lied to them. They were in shock. They had never expected this from him. When Andrew's father asked him why he did that, there was no reply from the boy. So his dad decided to tell him a story to make him understand how bad lying can be. So the father went on and narrated a story. There was a small girl in a village. She loved playing with her friends in the forests. She loved it so much that she would even go alone and stay there playing with the rocks and grasses. Her parents did not mind it. One day the girl's best friend told her that there were angels in the forest. She couldn't believe her friend. It seems like the angels only appeared in the night, and they were very beautiful to look at. The girl got very anxious and wanted to meet an angel that very night if at all the story was true. She went back home and asked her parents if she could go play in the forests at night for an hour or so and be back. But her parents refused, saying that the forest was not safe at night. But the girl wanted to see the angel. So that night the girl lied to her parents that she would be going to her friend's house for a night's stay and went to the forest. The forest was very dark and scary, she could hear her every movement, and she just wished she found the angel. After an hour of walking didn't find any angel in the forest and started regretting her decision. There was a snap behind her, and when she turned she found a black cobra coming towards her. He devoured her in a minute, and no one heard from her again. Her parents cried a lot and searched for her but no sign. If only she hadn't lied to them and gone to the forest that night she would have been alive today. Concluded Andrew's father. Andrew felt very sad for the girl in the story. He also realized how serious the situation could get if he lied. He then promised his father to never lie again. Moral: we should never lie because one lie leads to another, and it's always dangerous. The Fisherman. An old poor man lived alone with his daughter. He was a fisherman. Every morning he would take his fishing rod and go to the nearest lake to fish. After he had collected a bucket full, he would go to the market next to sell them off. That morning also the old man got ready to go to the lake. On the way out his daughter stopped him and asked him to get a little more money for the supper tonight. She wanted to have something different for a change. The old man says okay and is fully determined to get more fish for the day. But the man doesn't return home that night, and the next also. Finally, the second night the daughter goes out to search for him. But when she opens her door, she finds her father sleeping on the 4 steps, so she asks him where he had been. She was very anxious about what had happened. The father explains to his daughter that he fished so much that he got late. They then together go to the market and sell off all the fish and earn a lot. That night they had a very nice supper, and while the old man slept, he was awoken by an angel who appeared in his sleeping chamber. The angel told him that she had observed how hardworking the man was, and so she rewarded him with help. She said, "I will make the living situation better for him and his daughter, but he must promise to always feed the needy from time to time." After a few days, he got a job in the king's palace as a gardener. Gradually their situation got better. They got a bigger house, better food. But the old man forgot his promise to the angel. One day the king visited the garden and gave the old man to take care of a precious plant. The king told him that the plant gives pearls to take special care of. Every day the old man would give more water to that plant and take care of it, but one day he finds out that the plants are missing, so he informs the king. But the king blamed it on him, and he was put in prison. The old man wondered why this would happen to him, so recalled his memories and remembered how he had broken the angel's promise and never fed another needy person. So he apologizes to the angel. The next day the king goes to his garden for a walk and finds out that the pearl plant wasn't stolen, it was just misplaced. The old man is released. He continues his job thereafter in the palace and completes his promise of feeding the needy. Moral: never forget what you promise others. The Siblings. There was a small family of 4, 2 kids, and their parents lived together. The 2 kids used to go to school every day, and the parents were both working. They had a very busy city life. They could spend time together only during the weekends and dinner time. Their son's name was Max, and their daughter was Melissa. They were siblings and they hated each other. Melissa was elder to Max, so she always meant to take care of him. But he didn't like her. She too wasn't that fond of him either. They both would fight all day long if not separated by their parents. Melissa would guide him through his homework, but he didn't like it. He hated the fact that she thought he couldn't do his homework by himself. Melissa would take Max to school every day along with her, and back home too. Max wanted to go alone. But his parents wouldn't allow them to think that Max was still small to go by himself, but yet Max wouldn't understand. His friends teased him for that too. If Max got into any problem at school, his sister, liking it or not, would come to help him to get out of the fight. But that would earn Max teases from his friends. Max finished middle school that year and Melissa finished high school. Their parents decided to send Melissa abroad for further studies. Max was very happy, even Melissa was. He felt like he was getting his freedom. So they left Melissa to the hostel and came back with Max. He was still young to be put in the hostel. And hence the sibling was separated. They felt very happy for a few days. But not a week was over, and Melissa felt homesick, and she wouldn't agree, but she missed home. And back at home, Max felt very lonely alone. He wished his sister came back. He had gotten into many fights at school, and she wasn't there to help him. He almost got hit by a car going to school alone the other day too. He had difficulty doing his homework. He even cried to his parents to get Melissa back. But they only laughed and hugged him. He realized that his sister was going to come any time soon. But he understood how much he loved his sister. When Melissa came for her winter holidays, she and Max held each other for a very long time and cried. They told each other about how much they had missed them. Moral: value what you have got in hand. Sparky. Max and Mona played together with sticks when they heard some noise near the bushes. Mona moved forward towards the direction to find out who was there. Max asks his sister to stop and that he would go instead. When they checked it out, it was an injured dog crying out for help. So Mona carries him inside their house, puts ointment and bandages his injured leg. She also named him Sparky because he was white. But Max was against it. He thought that the dog could have any diseases, and he was very dirty. He was against his sister for keeping the dog. But his parents were fine with it. Thereafter Mona would spend a lot of time with Sparky, and Max felt lonely. He felt that all that time his sister spent, and the time playing with him now was spent with Sparky. He was very agitated, so put together a plan to send Sparky away forever. He took him to a faraway forest and left him there. When he returned home, he felt very happy that he got rid of the dirty animal. But when her sister found out that her pet was missing, she cried a lot. Max told her that he was just a pet, and they could get another one someday, but she wouldn't stop. Mona considered Sparky as her best friend. Max started to feel bad for what he had done, but he didn't tell anyone about it. That night, while they were sleeping, suddenly a dog started to bark from outside. It was constant and so loud that everyone in their house got up and went out. When they were outside the house, they found Sparky barking at something. They checked and found two thieves trying to steal their parents' car. So they called the police and handed the two thieves over to them. Their parents were very happy with Sparky, and Mona was overjoyed on seeing him again. Even Max was happy that Sparky had found a way to come back home. He told his sister sorry for what he had done. Later, Max, Mona, and Sparky became good friends and played together. Moral: we should never be jealous. The poor girl. Once upon a time, a family of only a mother and a daughter lived in a village. They were poor and very hard-working. They would work every day to get bread to the table. One day the mother told her daughter that she was old enough now, and that should start looking for work. The daughter agreed with her mother. She decided to go look for work the next morning. Her mother only told her one thing: to always be hardworking and help the people in need. The girls took off. She walked for a very long time and found nothing, but she didn't give up. She walked further and came across an old man trying to pull his trolley of goods up a hill. So the old man asks her for help. She doesn't hesitate and helps him. She gets all her clothes dirted, so the man, on noticing, apologizes, but she waves it off and continues her walk. She then comes across a fish crying out for help. She reaches by its side, and the fish begs her to put it inside water somewhere so that it won't die. So the girl carries the fish to a river and puts it in there. The girl gets drenched in water, and the fish says sorry for being the reason for it. But the girls say it's okay and start walking again. This time she comes across a tree that calls out to her. The tree asks her for some water. So the girl takes out her bottle and pours all her drinking water for the tree. The tree asks her what she would do now if she got thirsty. She says she will surely find water on the way. She then continues walking for days and nights and finally reaches an estate of berries. So she requests the owner to give her work. The owner tells her that he had 4 blocks of berries plantation, so she could sweep the dry leaves away to keep them clean, but to never go to the 4th land. The girl agrees and then does her work with full dedication. She cleans his lands for months. Then one day the owner calls the girl and gives her wages. He then asks her why she hadn't cleaned his 4th land. She says that it was his wish that she never entered the 4th land. The owner was very impressed with her diligence. He told her to visit his 4th land and take anything she wanted from there before she left for home. When the girl visited the 4th land, she was shocked to see trees from which hung gold and pearls. She happily took all that she wanted and left for her home. Moral: your hard work will always be rewarded.